Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Pat Kinney,
Here.
John Wiener,
Here.
George Micka,
Here.
Rick Corpola,
Here.
Dylan Jennings.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to approval of the agenda.
I make a motion. I'll second it.
Motion by Supervisor Micka. I'm sorry, motion by Supervisor Micka, second by Supervisor Corpola. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, number 3, approval of zoning and land committee meeting minutes from December 7th, 2021.
No changes or additions or corrections in it.
Motion by Supervisor Micka, second by Supervisor Wiener. This is Pat Kinney. I've got a question. On the roll call for the December 7 meeting, it shows 5 supervisors listed as committee members, but in number 2, it says 4 present. I don't recall Supervisor Jennings being here.
He was not.
So we just, he was the absent one then?
Yep.
Okay. And then in the upper right, you've got updated 09/2019.
Okay.
That should be removed. So I would make a motion that we amend the minutes by removing Supervisor Dillon as being present. Is there a second to the amendment? Second by Supervisor Wiener. Ready to vote then on the motion and amendment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, moving to number 4, public comment period. Normally that is for 3 minutes, and if the committee chooses, it can suspend the rules on that for a longer period of time.
I'll make the motion that we suspend the rules on that.
Is there a second? So we have a motion by Supervisor Corpola, a second by Supervisor Wiener. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We're going into public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak during public comment?
I want to pass this out so you know what I'm talking about when we do talk about it.
Small print.
You know, I've got my glasses.
Should have brought my glasses.
You got one? Thank you.
Then when you start your comments, you just state your name, please, and address.
My name is Ken Kazaka and I live on Spider Lake. Sit here.
Do you want,
I'll sit here.
you want to say that again, please? We got it recorded then.
Okay, my name is Ken Kazaka and I live on Spider Lake. And I'm here to talk about the dam today, the Hudson Bay Dam. As Dan said, we have 2 issues with this, with Hudson Bay Dam. One is easement and the other is ownership. And today, Claire and Cliff Urtello have come. They own the property where the dam is. And Cliff can speak as far as their opinion as far as the easement is concerned. Cliff, would you like to?
Well, we don't have an issue with me.
Yeah, we'll just do one person at a time with the comments.
All right. But I don't want to speak for them because I don't want to put words in their mouth, but basically what we're looking at is getting a new documented easement by the Urtellos to get into do maintenance on the dam. So that would solve the problem that we've been having regarding the easement situation. So that's that part. Second part is ownership. And I think we can make it real simple, okay? Statute 31.38 allows the county to maintain a dam. And I'll read the section that says that, just so you know. From the acquisition and maintenance of dam, if excess of benefits over the dam accruing to property within the dam, it can be special assessed to the property owners that are benefited by the dam. Well, basically what this does, it takes all the pressure off Ashland County. They don't have to worry about paying for anything on the dam. It can be assessed to the property owners. So for example, I just use a round figure. If there are 40 parcels and there was a $15,000 bill for the dam for whatever, for repairs, whatever, it'd be like $375 per parcel. So it's a very doable situation. And the thing that is excellent, Ashland County does not have to worry about any, they can own the dam, but they don't have to pay for the dam. Real simple. We can get this going. That's my story. John?
No, well, this is public comment, so we can't ask questions, but when we get to the discussion, if the committee chooses, they can suspend the rules to ask questions. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during public comment period? Is there anyone online or on the phone that would like to speak during public comment? Hearing none.
I guess I would bring up the point that can you go to the microphone? Is this one?
Oh,
Yeah, would you state your name and that?
I'm Don Deals. I live on Spider Lake as well. The dam has been around since the 60s. Ashland County's maintained it through all this time. Ashland County's, we thought we were being taxed a little extra for this dam to be maintained. Now, when this issue comes up, Ashland County is backing off. Hey, we never signed the paperwork. And that's what I have a problem with as a taxpayer and as a owner on Spider Lake. Now, all of a sudden, Ashland County's going to wash our hands of it. Who wants to own a dam? Kind of understand that. However, you guys have been maintaining it for 50 some years, and now all of a sudden you want to back out. We are proposing that we will pay for it. Yeah, we will pay for the maintenance. And we are legit about that. You can tax us. We put a kitty together, a sizable kitty together to maintain this dam going into the future. And I just want you guys to understand that we are sincere. These are legitimate people out here at the lake that we want to maintain the asset. Truly a great asset for us and for the county. Thank you.
One more thing, Pat, as an addition to this. What's that? Ken Kozolka again. In addition to what we're talking about, as far as the special tax, we're willing to manage the dam. That means we'll make the phone calls for any work to be done on the dam. We'll coordinate it with the DNR. It will be a simple process. And actually, once this first round of repairs are done, we need to do stop logs and we need some signage and we need an engineering company to come in and do a dam hazard analysis. But once that's done, it's a pretty simple process. There won't be a whole lot of taxing that'll be needed. So that's the plan. I don't know how to make it any simpler.
Mention we're going to insure it too.
Well, yeah, we are going to insure it naturally.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak during public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to public comment period. Next, discussion on the presentation. This is discussion, we're not taking action today, so we should stray from making, it sounded like we're coming to a consensus to make decisions. As far as what specifically we were not to do.
The DNR says. It's pretty simple as far as maintaining it, but the DNR or the. So you can't do it. Makes it tough to do. That's all I'm saying.
So I have a question I'll direct to the administrator. We heard during public comment that the Ulatels were willing to grant an easement, if I understood them correctly. And I have a question of who that would be granted to, the county or to the folks on Spider Lake. And then I also heard during public comment that they would be willing to, help pay for this and take some responsibility. But it seems that the owner ultimately, for a variety of reasons, including insurance, should be involved with this. So what's the administrator's take on who should own the easement?
Well, the easement should go to whomever owns the dam. So whether that is the county or a property owner or a lake district or a town or village, they're the ones who would get the easement.
So it seems the first issue is determining who in the end is going to own this.
Correct.
And what's your thoughts on how that gets determined and when?
Well, I've been just looking at the statutes here and I'm trying to determine whether or not the county even has taxing authority for special assessments. Whatever account. So that's unclear at this moment.
So is this something you would want to research
Yes.
further?
Yes.
And would you want to have conversations with the Ulatels regarding the easement? I think we've all heard different versions on the easement.
Yeah.
And then come back to this committee with a recommendation.
Yes.
Supervisor Weiner?
You have.
With all the property owners and told them what your plan was and everything?
I've notified all the property owners, not everybody's got back to me, okay? But all of Spider Lake, 30 individual parcels. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just curious about Muckler Lake. I've been hearing some people been backing out on that for some stupid reason.
Could I pause for a moment here? We should vote to recognize members of the public, and then you'll need to be closer to a mic. And then if someone from the public is going to speak, we should get them back up here to a mic too, so it can be recorded. So does the committee want to recognize members of the public during this discussion?
Yes.
We have a motion by Supervisor Corporal. Is there a second? We have a second by Supervisor Weiner. All in favor? Aye. So we're suspending the rules to recognize you, and then use a mic, please.
Okay, we're talking about people that everybody has been notified, okay?
Have
Originally,
been notified. Everybody has a letter notification.
I went individually to each individual location, left them a letter. Not everybody got back to me naturally, especially on Muckwa. So everybody on Spider Lake is on board with all this. Because originally, we were going to finance the whole thing, Spider Lake only, because I wasn't going to fight with people in Muckwa that, for whatever reason, didn't want to get involved. And the funny part about this, Muckwa Lake would be affected more than probably Spider Lake in this whole situation, but that's the situation right now.
I talked to most of the people that are half of my relatives on that lake, and they're pretty much willing to do anything that can be done to
Okay.
save that.
Good.
I'm glad that you came up with a plan to proceed what we can do.
The special assessment, I think, makes it pretty simple. I mean, it goes on your property tax. And again, it's not going to be every year, but whenever something has to be done to the dam, there'll be special assessed for that amount.
And then they'd be signing the contract, that you'd be taking care of that dam forever. There won't be like 5 years down the road where somebody just disagrees and doesn't pay their shares and all that kind of, is there going to be any conflicts?
Well, I'm assuming that the county, if they adopt this statute, it's in writing. That's it. The statute is there, just like your property tax. So if they don't pay it, they could go against their property.
Okay, thank you.
So to the administrator, this is Pat. Does it seem like the first issue here is determination of who's going to own this?
Yes. That would be that's the very first step. He would owns the dam.
And what are your thoughts on when the county would
I think
work
it's,
to make a decision on that?
oh, I think it's unclear who owns the dam at this point. You know, the paperwork was never ever completed. So we don't, there's actually no record of county ownership at this point. So the county would have to decide if it wants to assume ownership or try to get the DNR to take ownership.
So the DNR sent a letter saying at the end of December 2021, that if the county didn't take ownership, that it would go on the dam removal list.
They did send a letter, but the DNR won't act on that for a long time. They prefer to they'd much prefer to see a different solution.
So if they're looking for a different solution, and if the people on Muckwell Lake and Spider Lake, they live in two different townships.
Yep.
Unless they both agree to a lake district, because the dam benefits both.
Right.
Then only one would be paying for it at most, but it doesn't sound like there's going to be support to get a lake district formed there. Then my concern is that this gets kicked down the road, and at some point the DNR says, okay, now you got to do this. And then we're under the gun, which may not give us the best chance to get the best outcome on this. So are we going to try to proactively work through getting to wherever we go one way or the other, or are we going to wait for the DNR to?
Well, I think we should make recontact with the DNR to find out exactly where they are in this. My guess is, again, they're not going to do much because they don't want to spend the money to come in and remove a dam either. So I think they would rather just see some of the solution.
So a few county board meetings ago, Supervisor Murdoch asked a question: what would be a rough estimate of the maximum liability the county might have if they had to repair this dam or do something with it? And I believe you threw out about $500,000 as a rough guess.
Yeah, that was our estimate.
My read on that question being asked on this item was that there may be support from the board for the county to move forward on taking ownership, especially if the Ulatels are willing to work with us on the Lake District. And you can check with the county attorney, but if it's accurate that we could special assess, and we would in all likelihood be covered there. My one concern with the special assessment is, let's say for some reason in one given year, there's something that's a large number, $1 million or $2 million, could we issue a bond and then over a period of time use special assessment to pay off that bond, and therefore limit the risk to the county while also making it workable for the residents on the lakes?
Well, theoretically, yeah. You could, I mean,
The
Yeah.
statute actually says you can do a 20-year bond.
right. So I think we need to talk with our corporate counsel to see if we even have the authority to do the taxing.
Okay. And then this is our last zoning meeting before the election. And so it's very likely the makeup of this committee will be different, partly because one person, maybe two, aren't running again.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so, but we have at least one that's not
Thanks
running
to
again. And then the whoever's elected chair in April will make committee assignments. So there may be changes, at least one change to this committee. So
More meetings.
So I want to ask the administrator, the county up till now has taken the position, we're going to wait for the DNR.
Yeah.
Would you be open to the zoning committee or the board as a whole asking you to look into the county taking this and researching those issues?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we don't have any action on the meeting today, but if you want to bring something to the next zoning meeting with some background on this.
Yep, I wrote down the two statutes he's referencing, and I'll talk to Max.
And then the one other comment I would have is, I believe Extension has worked with communities in terms of considering a lake district. And would it make sense now that we're on the back end of COVID to have Extension, I believe, organize a meeting down there to walk through the process of performing a lake district and what may be the pros or cons, and so that the county makes a good faith effort to let everybody know what a lake district involves, the pros and cons, so that everybody has that opportunity in a public meeting to hear the same information. And that way, if the people decide they don't want a lake district, that tells the county that. On the other hand, if they decide to have a lake district, that seems to be something the county would be happy with.
Yep.
So I think that should be part of the process.
Yeah, I've already spoken to Extension, and gathering the information needed.
Okay. All right,
Just so you know,
I'll recognize Mr. Kozalska.
Ken Kazalka, just so you know, the people on Spider Lake have voted against the Lake District. And the reason is, it's complicated. It's another layer of government between you guys, between the county and the township. It's expensive because the entire district has to have insurance, which means all around Spider Lake, Muckwa Lake, the river, all the way down to the dam. It's not all, you have to have an audited budget every year, and you have to have 5 people on the board. One of them has to come from here. And it's got to be audited and go to the state. And, you can sue, you can be sued. We don't need that. All we want is the dam to stay just the way it is. That's all we want.
Yeah, and I read through the Lake District stuff last
Did you?
summer.
Good.
Yeah, but I think as far as the county doing its due diligence, I think we should have a public meeting, provide that information to everyone, and then leave it up to the people on those lakes first before the county goes further with that. So there's no question as far as what the people on those lakes prefer. And then it's clear to the board too, that if the people on the lakes aren't going to take it after this information on a Lake District is shared with them, if they vote no, well, then the county knows that either the county takes responsibility and ownership, or we risk the DNR at some point removing it. So any other discussion or comments? So we're going to recognize someone. You're one of the Yuletels. Would you state your name, please? And push the button there in the kind of the slightly right of center, so it turns red.
Push the button and the red light comes on, you're good to go.
Cliff Ulatol, Maringo. I just had a few questions about that letter you were speaking of. It was sent by Jacob Druffner, and it had to be easement had to be decided by the 31st of December. Or the ownership had to be decided. I believe it was actually easement needed to be in place, or it was gonna, the 3 other options for the dam. I just wanted to make a couple points and a question. First of all, in that letter, it also said there was funding available through the DNR to do upgrades and maintenance on the dam. So that's an option too. But also, excuse me, you said that there's some paperwork glitch or something that the county doesn't own the dam. But in that letter, he states that it is owned and in perpetuity. So I guess that's the question I have.
Well, the DNR's view is the county owns it, even though it wasn't recorded. And I believe our last administrator said that if we went to court, most likely the judge would determine that the county does in fact own it.
Okay.
But that bridge, unless it goes to court and the judge decides, we don't have a definitive answer, but we do know we have 2 different views on who owns it. But that issue aside, if one way or the other, a Lake District or the county taking ownership, that issue will be resolved by someone coming forward to take ownership. But there'll still need to be an easement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're willing to work with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the Hudson Bay Dam? Okay, thank you. Then we'll move to the next item on the agenda.
Oh, I put it back in there.
Number 6, permits and issued revenue account.
Well, I think there's a different one in there, ain't there? The discussion of the debt after.
I think the staff update is after.
Okay.
So I guess I'll talk about the issued permits and revenue account. I submitted everything since our last meeting, so from December through February. As you can see, in December, we brought in $3,400. In January, $2,600. In January, $2,785.
Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, thank you. We'll move on to staffing updates.
As far as staffing updates going, we're still working through everything. We're looking at contracting out a new zoning administrator. So that person will be working for us by contract and not subject to benefits or. However, we are running into a few issues there. And we do have somebody who's willing to come on as an employee. So we're gonna have to talk, we're gonna have to work through the contracting preferably. That's the way we want to go. If not, we're gonna hire someone. And that'll determine what we do with everything else. Yeah.
So you said someone might be willing to come on. Did you say as an employee?
Yes,
And that's someone not working for the county right now?
correct.
And they'd have the licenses?
Yeah, they would have to take one class at the end of April,
Okay.
but in Eau Claire, but they would be okay.
So one of the issues with zoning has been doing the inspections to see if people are in compliance, in particular,
Yes.
not putting sump pumps into holding tanks.
Yep.
So if you hire someone as an independent contractor, would that person also be doing the inspections?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we give them a list of places we want them to go. And of course, if you heard anything or we got any complaints, he would go there too.
And they would have sufficient time to do the necessary work and?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
So I'm hoping to hear by the end of next week,
Okay.
even this week, hopefully.
So is that person going to have an office here? Or what about all the records that are kept? for
The
zoning?
records will stay with Carisha since she's the one who accesses them every single day. So right now that's in a holding pattern too. But they're going to stay here or they're going to go somewhere else either.
So when you stay with Carisha, would this person have access to the room in which they're stored? to
Yes.
do their work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this person would, if it's a contractor, they would come in anytime they needed to. If not, they'd be out working inspections when they needed to. If it's a full-time employee, they would be housed in this building.
Have we posted a job ad for this?
We have not posted an ad because there's really not many people out there. I've been talking to other people. So like I said, I have one person who's interested in full-time, who's qualified. That same person is interested in doing contracting also. And then I have somebody in Bayfield County that's willing to do contracting.
So with zoning, I don't know, but my guess would be part of the year is really busy and part of the year is less busy.
Yeah.
When we look at budgets, one of the things that people say is we don't want to lay anybody off.
Yep.
Let's try to reorganize when someone leaves or things change and try to juggle things better. Do we have job descriptions for zoning?
No, we don't. And that's part of our wage comp study, that they're going to be doing job descriptions for every position in the county. So they will be created new and then we will know exactly what everyone is supposed to do.
So if we end up hiring somebody, does that in any way bind us to the terms of that agreement if after the comp study is done and job descriptions are written? Could we modify that or are we kind of locked in?
If we hire somebody as an employee, as an employer, we can always change job descriptions anytime we want.
And then they should be aware the comp study is being done.
Yep.
In case compensation levels change, it might stay the same, but it might go up or down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, realistically, it would only go up. We're not going to cut somebody's pay just because of the wage comp study.
Any questions, comments?
But I will say Carisha's been doing a great job since she's been here all by herself. So she's keeping the department afloat.
All right.
I think we gotta hire Rick.
All right. Going to number 8. Other business, is there any other business? Seeing no other business, we'll move on to the land description portion of the meeting. Number 9, public comments. Is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment related to land description? Anybody online or on the phone that would like to make a public comment regarding land description? Hearing none, we'll move to number 10, discussion and action on property subject to tax deed. And for that. We'll let our property lister run us through it.
Okay. Yeah, so you all received the notice list with our, with any payment updates on it. The main ones to note for this section would be on the first page, Timothy Petula. This property in the town of Sanborn, this individual is passed, and we published the appropriate notice in the paper for anyone to make any sort of payments or anything on in his stead, and have received none. So I would recommend moving ahead to take this property on tax deed. And then on page 2, we have towards the middle of the page, property in the city of Ashland owned by Amanda Gallegos. This property, we've sent the owner multiple letters and notices, and a kind of a final chance letter by certified mail stating that if she doesn't attend this meeting and explain why we shouldn't take her property, that we would indeed foreclose on it. This property, I believe, does have an occupant. I believe she lives there. So it would be up to the committee whether or not we foreclose on this property.
Are you gonna go through the rest of them, or do you want us to make a decision on this one right now?
I don't. I mean, if you'd like, I can go through each of them individually, but I mean, most of it is just, little payments here and there that people have been making. And then, kind of the same.
What about this on the next page with Anthony Mitchell?
So, I'm not entirely sure that we can foreclose on these parcels. I think that was just a formatting error that those were still highlighted.
Okay. So remove the yellow on Anthony Mitchell.
Yeah, that was just a clerical formatting error on my
Okay.
part.
So then you're looking for a decision on, from page 1, the Timothy Petula. And then on second page, Amanda Gallegos.
Yes.
Well, I say we should foreclose on it. That's my opinion, but
Is that a motion?
that's a motion.
We have a motion from Supervisor Corpola to foreclose on property or parcel number 022-015424-0200 and parcel number 201-00238-0000. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Supervisor Weiner. Any discussion?
I think we should make sure that the time is just right, so we do it in June or May or whenever the time is right. Not in March so much.
For this, the one that's occupied?
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
so then I'd probably ask that you amend your motion to not foreclose on this Amanda Gallegos property then, if it's your desire to wait until June. Because if you vote on it now, then we would take the tax deed now.
Could we put a date on it?
Yeah.
Because we're not gonna have a zoning meeting again for a while.
right,
Okay,
Right.
okay. Sure, so something like if it's not paid in full by such date in June, then we file the tax deed.
Right.
Okay,
June 1st, is that
yeah, that's fine.
what I meant? June 1st?
I will.
Would you accept that as a friendly amendment, Supervisor Weiner?
Yes.
Yes. So we have a motion to take the two properties with the second one with the date of June 1st.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can you just read the motion out loud so it's in the record correctly?
So we have a motion by Supervisor Corpola, a second by Supervisor Weiner to take two properties. The first parcel number 022-01524-0200, and the second parcel number 201-00238-0000, with the second parcel being taken by tax deed on June 1st, if not paid in full. That's the motion with the second.
That's the motion.
Any other discussion?
Can you give me a page number where those two properties are? I'm not following all the 000 stuff.
It's-
The other one, the first two pages.
Page 1 and page 2.
Ready to vote then?
One's in yellow.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? Motion
Okay.
carries. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Moving to number 11, discussion and action on a payment plan review.
Yep, so we rolled out the payment plan that was approved at the last meeting, sent that out to all of our delinquent tax payers. And we have two of note that I wanted to just bring up to get the committee's ruling or just bring it to their attention, I suppose. On two individuals, Thomas Clavette and Harold Eastman. We had sent them all the paperwork and they had filled out the payment plan agreements, but both of these individuals expressed to us that they are unable to make the minimum payment amount that we determined that they need to pay per month in order to get their taxes paid within a year. Are these payment plans something that we would accept, or are we going to force them to pay more, or we take their property? I'm just trying to get a feel for what the committee wants my office to do in this situation.
Remind me, on the policy that we passed, these payments are for delinquent taxes, and it's required that they keep up on their current taxes in addition to this.
I don't believe there was anything in the policy that they keep up on their current taxes, but that they pay up the delinquent taxes subject to tax deed within 1 year.
Let me rephrase what I said and try to get at what I'm thinking. It's one thing to say, okay, here's a payment plan for what they're behind on, where we could now take it.
Mhm.
And then it's another thing if whether or not they're keeping up on taxes that we can't yet take the property because of. So in other words, they might pay this, but then if all that's happening is they're getting behind on the taxes, for the current year,
Mhm.
we're not getting further along on this. And then the other thing that I'm thinking about on this is, without the numbers in front of me, is I don't know how long it would take for this to get paid off with a payment of that amount. That difference of $225 is going to string this out, especially with interest that's being charged.
Mhm.
So we don't want to get into the role of being a banker or credit agency. We want to stay away from that. I'm uncomfortable with these being the numbers they are, especially the second one, because it just feels to me like we're getting into that role of being a creditor. They've already had extra time and part of what that means is if you can't pay your taxes, then consider selling the property when you can get enough time to sell it to get fair value rather than the county taking it. And I'm looking at Supervisor Mika, and I think we remember the late 80s in particular well enough to know that a lot of farmers struggled, staying in business. And, the reality was you either paid your taxes or, you sold it while you could and get what you could. And so, that's how it is. And they've had ample time. And now this feels to me like we're becoming creditors. And
Okay.
We shouldn't be doing that. I think the policy was generous enough, in part because it allows them time to sell it and get fair value for it. My personal feelings is tell them that they either need to find a way of paying it or they should sell it. Otherwise, you know, at a meeting or two, we would look at taking it.
Okay.
Because these are, to me, just stringing out. And something that surprised me with a few months ago with one property in particular is when you shared with us, and I don't have this in front of me either, but you know, some of these people, this has been an ongoing thing. It isn't just the last few years that we see in front of us on these sheets. Oftentimes, you know, you would know in particular that this has been a pattern over a much longer period of time. So I would be fine saying no to these unless your recommendation being based on you knowing more than I know as far as the history of, has this been an ongoing thing? Is there reason to believe that they may get this paid, and maybe you've crunched the numbers to see how long it would take to actually pay it off, unless you feel that there's a case to be made to extending it.
I will say that these two properties, we have served a tax deed notice on every year that I have worked at the county.
Yeah, that answers my question. Yeah.
Well, you know, if you look at Thomas, he's got $12,000. And that's, I don't know, do you pay anything on his present? Or
Typically with delinquent taxes, any payments that they send in get applied to the oldest year delinquents.
well, I understand that totally. My question is, he owes $6,200 for the 2019-2020. Now he's got the 2020-2021 taxes due. And if he's not paying nothing on those, they're gonna, you know, they're gonna come due too, and then they're gonna be added on to this. Right now, he's paying $2,000 a year in penalty and interest. Even like this Eastman. Now, if he pays 150 on 6,000, he's only gonna be paying us $800 a year on he's gonna be falling behind, because if you only pay 1,000 of it's gonna go on penalty and interest. So $800 payment, well, he'll never catch up. And then he's got the new ones coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we typically give the taxpayers, I made a calculator of sorts in Excel that shows them the breakdown of approximately how much interest and penalty they are accruing every month, and that their payment needs to be at least above that. So, and we sent those breakdowns to these people, so they know that they are unable to pay an amount that would keep them going forward. So, if that's the case, then, you know, we won't take these payment plans and we'll just proceed as normal with the tax deed, notice, you know, securing notice and everything. And then after 3 months' time from that, foreclosing on the property.
Because the intent of the payment plan was to, in a sense, draw a line of what was acceptable to the
Yes.
county and what wasn't. And these are both under, and the second one in particular, on a percentage basis, well under, which means it's going to string out a long time.
Yes.
And if you're not even, you know, if you're still going further under, then that doesn't get the county out of being a lender, but it also means that that person is sinking more money into a property that they're not on track to keep, which in some ways doesn't seem right either. But it's their choice, you know, it's been their choice up to this point.
Well, you know, I don't know what kind of property, even like Thomas has got. But if 1718 is 5,600, that must be his yearly tax. Because then it's got 19 and 20. Is that a 2 years of tax, or is that 1 year tax?
19 and 20
that he's
is,
behind on that.
that's 2 years.
2 years each?
Yes, because it's the 19 and the
So
20
his
tax.
taxes are running 3,000 roughly a year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm just looking at the numbers, it's the best I could do. But for 17-18, he still owes 5,600, and for 19 and 20, he owes 6,200. That would tell me that for 2021, he's gonna owe at least 3,500.
Well, keep in mind, these amounts have interest and penalty added on them for like the past 4 years. So his actual tax, when the tax bill comes out, is probably much less.
I hope so.
Well, that's a fact. That's how interest and penalty works.
But the numbers are, yeah, I understand what you're saying. This already got penalty and interest added to it, which is $1,000 for each of the 2 times. So yeah, he could be down in that $2,500 range. That still won't help with the fact that I see he said he can pay $575. Well, that's a pretty hefty payment. And according to this, you had asked for 700 and some?
The minimum payment amount we suggested was $800 to get his, to get the 17 and 18 paid within a year.
You know, he's talking about paying $575, where the fellow below him is just half of that, and he only wants to pay 150. Well, he's never gonna catch up. It's just, I know, it's between a rock and a hard place with this kind of stuff, you know.
Okay.
But the
Yeah.
price of property is going up all the time, so, you know. Well, say,
The price ain't going up, the taxes are.
that's true. Yeah.
You take a city of Ashland, you know, even outward, you know, people are building, people are buying land. Yeah, it is going up, everything is going up.
Supervisor Mick, are you ready to make a motion?
Well, if you go out on these, are all these people are money, but I tell you what, they got this brand new thing going.
I don't necessarily need a motion then. We just won't accept these. I just wanted to more get a feel for what the committee's thoughts are on, because I have a feeling we'll get a lot more payment plans like these where they just cannot make the minimum, and so. I
Well,
just-
we could give you backing with the motion. Is there someone interested in making a motion to deny these? Supervisor Wiener?
I have a question just on these people that we're talking about here. Do you know what their incomes are? Maybe just as much as they can pay? Do you know, a lot of times the personal person itself are struggling, and with these lower numbers for now might be a good idea, but maybe later on down the road, it might be different when economy gets better, but something right now, times are hard. And I just don't know.
Then we're
about-
lenders.
Huh?
We're a lender at that time.
Well, it's been going on for a long time. This has been going on a long time. They've had plenty of opportunity to say, okay, I'll sell it and move into something that I can afford. And that's the expectation, really. We all have to pay our
I
taxes.
was just concerned about
Yeah.
their point of view.
Well, part of what I'm thinking is at this time of year, it's a better time to sell than fall and winter. And so, you know, for them and the county is probably, if we're going to cross that bridge of taking the property, they're probably better off this time of year. So are we, versus, you know, letting it run another year and they're further behind. They've certainly have known for years that they're not keeping up on their taxes and what that leads to. So. Does anyone want to make a motion? I would prefer that we give our property lister a decision just to, so she has the backing of the committee. You know, we should be willing to vote rather than just sending her to, I'll make a motion that we deny the payment plans.
I'll second it.
So motion by Pat Kinney, second by Supervisor Corporal to deny the payment plans. Any other discussion? All in favor?
I
Aye.
have a question for Jennifer.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yes. A question for Jennifer.
I second it.
Go ahead.
First of all, when is the last time these properties were assessed?
Trust me, I know.
They would have been assessed like every other property in the city of Ashland, and the city did an assessment over the previous 4 years. And once those 4 years were completed, we got our new assessments on our most recent tax bill.
When was the last assessment done?
Last year it was finished.
It was finished.
It was finished last year. So the new assessment is on the current year's taxes that everybody received in December.
Well, the question I've got, this deal on here with Tom Clavette's house. Is he being assessed more because it's a duplex?
It's gonna have more value because it's a duplex, yeah. It's gonna have a higher assessed value, yeah.
So would he be better off not having a duplex and where the taxes come down considerably?
That,
If he stays.
well, here,
That really is. Oops.
Mr. Chairman, that's a question for the city's assessor. It's not it's not a question for the county board or the city council even.
Yeah, there's a board of review if he wants to go to that to talk about his taxes.
Right.
It's not.
The
It's
city
not
assessor can
relevant
give
to
him the
this.
best advice.
He would go to the board of review if he wants to contest his taxes.
Well, it's just mind-boggling to me how the tax structure is set up, because this is a 120-year-old house.
Well, mine's a
And the only
120-year-old.
property they have is the property the house is on,
Yeah.
period.
All right, we're gonna. My house is 120 years and I'm paying similar taxes. So we're done with that item. I'm sorry. The assessment is not on the agenda. Number 12, other business, next meeting date. There will be an election on April 5th and then appointments by whoever's chair to the zoning committee. And whoever's the new chair will make the appointment. So do we have recommendation for staff on the next meeting date?
I'm good for whenever. I don't know if it would make more sense to wait until after the election to start scheduling, because we'll likely have different committee members with different schedules.
Yeah, let me ask you, some of you have been around a while, longer than me. Will the appointments be made, not at the reorganizational meeting
No,
2 weeks after the election, which would be the 19th of April, but they'd be made at the meeting in May? Those appointments would have to be approved by the board at the meeting in May. So we're really talking about probably getting into either late May or into June before we would even have a new committee appointed and approved.
Okay. I guess we could just set a next meeting date for whenever, and then we'll just have to attend that.
Are these new numbers or are these the same as the old, or didn't we have any numbers? For the
For,
prices?
that is not,
Kind of what we're discussing right now.
no, we're discussing a meeting date.
We're on number 12 of land description.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter to me when the next meeting is, if it's May or June. Let's just, we can just pick, let's just pick a date.
Is it the old fee schedule? Is it a new fee schedule? Is it a revised, or didn't we have a fee? schedule?
Okay.
The county has an overall fee schedule, but we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. Do we have a next, do you want to pick a date? for
Yeah,
that?
I just picked a date, May 24th. It's a Tuesday.
May 24th? Does that work for everybody if you're going to be back? All right, so we'll put the next meeting date tentatively at least as May 24th, 2022. And then you'll see who we have in a committee and Moving to the land records portion of the agenda, number 13, discussion and action on land information fee schedule. So Supervisor Mika, you have some questions?
Hey guys, this is Brittany. Just want to check and make sure you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Do you have some questions on the fee schedule?
Well, is this our fee schedule? Or is this a new fee schedule? Is this I didn't see you hear that.
Brittany's online. Brittany, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Is this,
Um,
the document in front of us on the fee schedule, is that an update to the fee schedule?
That is an updated fee schedule, but I believe we are on the land information plan update item. I don't want to skip that one.
The number 13 in the agenda is discussion and action on land information fee schedule.
Sorry, I must have an old copy of the agenda.
So we're looking at the fee schedule. So this is an update?
Yes.
Yes.
So the fee schedule was last updated in 2010, I believe. So this is just a revamp of that. The first two items are the same cost. And then the next two sections have been updated to better account for my time of creating maps. I know it does kind of up that fee for the general public, but a lot of the time I get engineers contact me and then you need to spend an hour or two, clipping out certain areas of the county and sending them very large data over the internet, and that takes a lot of my time up. So the fee there kind of accounts for that factor. And I think I personally don't get too many public inquiries on maps, maybe 3 a year or so. I know Jennifer gets a little bit more because she's there and people are thinking about her with their tax parcels and everything. So, but this is just to kind of help cover those, my time better.
This is Pat. I got a question. Below the maps and data fee schedule, it says note minimal per hour rate will be $15. I don't understand $15 there, where in the main part of the table, it has $25 per hour.
So say you're gonna only, like a map only takes me half an hour. A half an hour charge would be the minimum of 15 instead of the full 25 for an hour.
Well, but it's got per hour in there in the word rate. And so that would say that you're charging 25 or $15 per hour here. If you want a $15 minimal charge, we could say minimal charge of $15. Is that the intent?
That is the intent, because if a map only takes me 15 minutes, it would only be a $6 breakdown at that rate. And I'd like to at least get, over $10 for a map.
So could we say minimal fee of $15 and then hours will be billed in quarter hour increments?
Yes. So you want to remove that per rate from that line
Per
right
hour
there?
rate, so just a minimum,
Well, $60 would be the hourly rate because they got $15 for a quarter increment. That means, because that won't take very long to do most of this, So it's actually $60 an hour.
well, it says per hour rate will be 15.
60.
Well, not for each quarter, but per hour, it says $15.
So
So
that is an error. I'm so glad you guys caught that. So the per hour rate is $25 an hour, and the minimum cost for anything would be $25 or $15. So I will revise that to just say minimum cost will be 15, hours will be billed in quarter increments at $25 an hour.
The reason we went through a lot of these schedules is we had people coming in and asking for 20 copies.
Mhm.
And we weren't charging nothing, so we started charging and that cut right off, people started to pay for their stuff, so, it doesn't matter to me what they charge. Like I said, $15 would be $3.75 an hour for a quarter of an hour, which isn't a lot of money. I mean, I don't think it's enough, but that's okay. We can always change it.
So Brittany, could we say hours will be billed in quarter hour increments?
Well,
Because there should be an hour after the quarter, so quarter hour increments and then minimal charge of $15.
Yep, I will get that corrected.
Okay.
15 minutes.
And then going down on media costs, you have postage and mailing of $1. It strikes me on the low end. The envelopes that we got for this meeting were $1.96 in postage plus the envelope. Is that, are you gonna, like, if it's a business size envelope and one stamp, that's one thing, but if you often are sending out larger envelopes so things aren't folded, then that postage and mailing is gonna likely be more than $1.
I actually never mail things. Everything is usually picked up in person. So I just kind of threw a random number at that. But if you'd like me to kind of bump that up a little bit, I can.
Yeah, between postage and envelope, something that is gonna cover it. Because the intent is for the people that are using your services are paying a user fee for it. And might as well include the postage and mailing, especially if this doesn't get updated for a long time.
Correct. Yeah, and the old fee didn't have anything about any of that media cost as far as like postage and mailing. So do you think bumping that up to $2 or $3? What are your?
Well, if it's a big envelope like we got today, the postage was $1.96 plus the cost of the envelope, so at least $2. And with inflation looking like it's going to be around for a while, maybe we should go to $3 or.
How about we do $2 for now and then just kind of see how that goes? Because like I said, I have actually never mailed anybody a map. So in the last 4 years.
So we'll go to 2.
Yep.
Anybody want to make a motion to approve the changes?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Supervisor Weiner, I'm sorry, by Supervisor Corpola, and Supervisor Weiner got his hand up first, so second by Supervisor Weiner. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, number 14, discussion and action on the 2022-2024 Land Information Plan.
Okay, so this plan is a 3-year plan that is mandated by the state that I complete for the county. And by completing it, it gives us access to the Wisconsin Land Information Grants, which funds my department and some of our other softwares and such to give us give the public access to information on the parcels and some of the register of deeds items and things like that. So I know it is kind of tough to read through these changed markup documents, but kind of the biggest changes this year were just updating if we completed the projects, and I think we completed all but 3 of them. So the 3 that we did not complete, I just bumped up to the new plan. And then the Land Information Council and I spent some time working on what our future projects are going to look like. And so we got those 9 new projects to work on for the next 3 years, plus many more that always pop up during the year. So any questions on the plan?
I have a question.
Our county board chair has a question. Mr. Pufo?
I know a pharmacy that's looking for somebody to write prescriptions. For God's sakes, you expect people to read these little 2 pages? Anybody here that can read this? It's so tiny. Did you look at that, Pat?
Yeah,
Not a problem for you?
no.
Well, I forgot my spyglass. I can't read it.
When it goes to county board, I can reformat it so it doesn't show that little sidebar. And it makes the text bigger again.
And you could put the link in the packet too. Anything else on this? We ready for a motion then to approve it, to send it to the county board?
Yeah.
We have a motion by Supervisor Mick. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Corporal. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 15, discussion on the Land Information Office 2021 final expense revenue. We're on 15 now.
Okay, so the first report you'll see is the expense versus what we budgeted for. Again, I know this is probably a little hard to read, but trying to pack all the information I can onto this. This is a report that I manually update 4 to 5 times a year. Just keeping in track of exactly what we're spending and really what grants it's coming out of, because I'm usually managing 6 to 8 grants in a year. So it's a lot of accounting on my end. This year was the first year that the budgeted number actually came very close to what we actually expended, which was very exciting for me. So we were only 9,000 off, which is, I think on a normal account, that's kind of a big number, but all this money is the non-lapsing grant money. So that was really, really great for me to see it finally come together. And then the next report you'll see is the revenue. So as of December 31st, we had 124,000 kind of in the bank, so to speak, and in our spending accounts. Of that, most of it is specifically tied to grants that we have specific projects to spend that on. There was about 60,000 that was just kind of money that could be spent on any repairs needed to the technology and any projects that kind of come up through the year that needs spending on. But so we're sitting pretty good for the last 4, I'd say 3 out of the 4 years. This is kind of where the amounts have been, around that 120 and then kind of $60,000 of the non-lapsing money. So
Brittany, this is Pat. There's a fair bit of grant money in your budget. Do you anticipate that the level of grant money is going to remain fairly consistent, or, I know there's a big push to get more GIS work done in government. Do you see that grant money remaining or changing?
I see it remaining in the foreseeable future. When I first started 4 years ago, I was kind of nervous about working fully under the grant. But they have been providing these grants, I think, since the 2000s. And I think these amounts have kind of been since 2007. So it's reliable, and it is based off of, our biggest grant is based off of what we record in the Register of Deeds office. And then that is kind of accounted into our biggest grant. And because many of the counties record a lot of money throughout the year, they don't actually qualify for that grant. So that grant is specifically for counties that don't record a lot of documents. So that base budget grant is very nice for us. It helps us get up to, you know, kind of an equal playing field for GIS on with the other counties.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hopefully it stays that way. I'm just thinking budget here too.
Yeah.
Anything else on the update? for Final expenses?
I don't have any other comments on that. And no motion is needed on that.
Then we'll move to number 16, other business. Is there any other business? Supervisor Wiener?
I was just informed not too long ago, actually, that our new zoning administrator has resigned or something. Could you give me an update on that?
Josh Raleigh?
Yeah.
He took a job with the state and his last day was March 3rd, although they separated a little ahead of schedule.
Wetland mediation or something, you know, them jobs are there all the time too, you know.
Yeah.
Do they have somebody in the works to replace him?
The administrator's been working on this, and it's not an easy time to find staff. Bayfield County lost their zoning administrator. That person's working for Enbridge and making significantly more money. And then one of their assistant zoning administrators left too.
So who's taking care of things in between
In Bayfield County?
in Ashland County?
The administrator is working on that. He's looking at someone to work as an independent contractor at the moment to try to cover that.
Who's that?
Yeah, I won't say the name. You can let him. So he's trying to get that lined up and hopefully has a firm answer on that soon.
I just had a concern that make sure.
Hopefully before summer.
Yeah, he understands that there needs to be somebody that can sign off on permits. So he's trying to get that covered.
Things are taken care of now. So
Yeah.
As it goes through, because I know there's been some issues in living regarding some of that information about the administrator zoning. That when he left some things behind and never cleared it up. Anyway, I would just wonder, I'd never heard anything about it, so I just wanted to question about it.
Yeah, he has talked to me several times to give me updates. So he's trying to get it covered as quick as he can, but then also work on developing a longer term plan that may or may not be whatever the initial staffing plan is. But those people are hard to come by right now. Any other business?
Yeah, I got a question, Pat.
Mr. Pufo?
Well, I can't for the life of me figure out why this committee denied the payment plan review for Mr. Covette. Now, the one gentleman wanted to pay $150 a month. That's only $1,800 a year. That's not covering yearly taxes.
The zoning,
Covette is offering to pay $575. That's $6,900 a year. He's catching up.
the zoning committee passed a policy in December, I believe, regarding payments on people who are behind, and staff brought us a recommendation based on the policy that this committee approved in December. So we followed that.
So it doesn't bother you at all that we're thinking about evicting somebody?
I think it bothers us all to some extent, but our obligation is to the county and following state statutes and our responsibilities to the county and to all the other people that pay their taxes. So he has opportunity to list it and get fair value prior to it being taken, but that's the way it works. If you can't pay your taxes,
Well,
eventually.
a policy is a policy.
Yeah.
It can be changed, added to, you know, if anytime we get an issue, the reason we write a policy is it's formal over everything. Because then you ain't picking and choosing. You got,
Mhm.
a policy's gotta be able to cover everybody. So if you change a policy, you gotta change a policy for everybody, for all the issues that are involved. So, like Pat said, you know, that it is what it is. We gotta collect taxes. We don't have to like it. But to give Jen a, more of a understanding where she can go out and tell these people, hey, either make a plan, pay it up, sell it, do something. Or we're gonna, we got to, by state law, we have to do that, you know, so. That's why we wrote these policies, you know, what was it last year? Somebody owed 80,000. We sold it for 160. Why wouldn't they sell it? And take the 80,000 and run? We took the 80,000, put it in the stinking,
They did try it.
yeah, it just don't make sense. And we run into that a lot, especially with the island, you know.
So when I first started on this, I didn't realize this is what part of the committee did. And my first time through this, I was like, I just was adamant, we're not going to take properties. Because I know, that George, you know too, you know, farming, you know, that land is important to you and you get really attached to it. And I'm like, there's no way that we're going to be doing this. But then I realized that, yes, this is part of what this committee has to do for a variety of reasons. I realized over a period of time that we didn't have a policy to follow, and that made it hard for everybody, staff, the committee, and the public. So a policy was developed, and now we're doing our best to follow that policy. And that allows staff to inform people that are behind, here's the policy. And then based on the policy and how you're far behind you are in taxes, that individual can make decisions that are in their best interest, which may mean sell the property, get as much as you can while you can, and then buy something different that fits in your budget. But at the end of the day, if they choose not to sell a property on their own, and if they can't pay their taxes, then it's the obligation of this committee to do what it must do. And I think it's really important that we have a policy and we follow it for the sake of staff that have to actually interact with the public. So.
It ain't fair, but it is. I know.
Well, and we struggle from time to time. 3 years ago, this committee, except for one person, but 4 of the committee members wanted to lower the interest in from 18 to 12.
I said,
And that was put in back in the 80s when interest was 15, 18% in the banks. Well, they upped it because people were leaving their money in the banks and not paying their taxes. So they upped it up to 18%. Well, I talked to the fellow that kind of instigated that. 5 years later, he wanted to bring it down and people, oh, we got to have that money. So, I mean, we had 4 of us wanted to drop it. The county board said, oh, absolutely not. You know, we can't do it. We can't get rid of that 48,000. Where are you going to get it from? Well, we just levied 1.5 million. Now is the time to drop it because state law says we got to charge at least 12%. We're charging 18.
And we're not supposed to get in the position of acting as lenders to people on this. I mean, working with them to give them some cushion and opportunity is reasonable and makes sense. But at some point, when it becomes an ongoing pattern, then, you know, the committee needs to do its job. And that's what we're doing. And I don't think there's anybody that likes doing it. But it's our obligation.
You know, there's so many issues and, you know, and I talked to the one fellow we're kind of talking about and I said, well, can't you get a loan? He said, nobody will give me a loan because I got taxes against it. Well, I don't want to get into that because if the house is worth 3 times what, you know, it was worth a lot of money, anybody's going to pick it up at 2.8%. I mean, I don't want to touch it. So,
Mr. Corpola, would you have the honor of making the last motion?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second it.
You know, a motion by Supervisor Corpola to adjourn and a second by Supervisor Mika. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Well, you know.
We're
what you
adjourned.
do, you see, the more motions you make through the years, your pension is bigger.
Oh, yeah.
You know.